on July 1st, 1916 at 7:30 a.m. In the Somme, 500,000 French and British launch on a 40-kilometer front. The most senseless offensive of an absurd war. With 35 kilos on their back, they were prohibited to run or throw themselves to the ground. Scots were wearing kilts while walking towards death in a parade. These real images show it, developed from reconstitutions of the unfilmable time. On that day, 65,000 men were lost. From 7:34 to 7:37 a.m., 10,000 were injured. 3,000 per minute. 50 per second. This movie tells the story of the most tragic day in the history of all wars. And it reveals the mechanism of errors persisting for 5 months. With more than 1 million deaths and injuries on both sides, the Somme cost a lot more human lives than Verdun, in a time twice as short, for an insignificant result.
There are hundreds of them.
Tens of millions have died. On Haut Picardy. Every garden has its own little stack. That sometimes becomes an attraction. For a century in the plowing season, children follow their father to pick up what the earth spit out. It's not just scrap metal. There are bones as well. Bodies were found. Hundreds of thousands were buried where they died, begging us not to forget them. Every year, 300,000 tourists come to pay them tribute. They want to understand what happened here. The region is crisscrossed through guided tours and rallies. These enthusiasts indulge in gentle evocations. While other evocations are closer reality.
I am in line. Men are to the left and on the right. Then the sound machine guns. 10 meters further, there are few men left around me. Another 10 meters further, I am all alone.
Some have been exhumed and restored. This one is German. They tell amazing stories.
When the grub arrived at the front line, it was cold and the rats had already served themselves. There are a lot of sick people because of the lack of water, dirty latrines. We suffer from lice, parasites, but above all, from the fear that keeps us awake at night. But abandoning is not an option. Otherwise we will be in the midfield.
Museums explain what led to this slaughter. In 1914, the Germans ended their invasion on the Marne. Then there was the trench warfare. The year 1915, the deadliest of the Great War. Relentlessly repeated offensives lead to nothing but blood and tears. The lesson is not learned. by the Commander-in-Chief of British troops, General Douglas Haig, nor by the Commander-in-Chief of French troops, General Joffre. On the contrary, in December 1915, the two commanders-in-chief conceive an immense joint offensive for year 1916. Both of them and their joint chiefs want a victory, which is to repel an impenetrable enemy, but also improve their image. Their plan was to take the German front downhill on 50 kilometers in the summer of 1916. They wanted to take on their first line, and its second from the first day, after destroying them with a deluge of artillery. French and British stomp in a war that is now steady through these trench networks, dug in a zigzag to escape shrapnels. They want a real war, a war of movement. They chose the Somme, a region with vast cultivated areas, without hedges and not very forested, ideal for a major offensive. The problem is that the German defenses there are better positioned than anywhere else, on a 700-kilometer front. Haute Picardy is indeed made of chalk, a stone that can be digged easily. The Germans excavated galleries there with multiple entrances and exits over 2 or 3 floors and up to 15 meters deep. We live there kind of normally, often with electricity. Officers place there their paintings and their pianos. The Allied General Staff were aware of all of this, but want to ignore it. This major error is the start of the upcoming tragedy. On February 21, 1916, the devastating attack of Germans on Verdun upsets the Allied plan. The offensive on the Somme should have been 2/3 French and 1/3 English. Verdun draws human flesh like a black hole. 20 French divisions, 150,000 men will leave Picardy to take their turn in the heroic defense of Verdun. Joffre asks Haig to take the lead of the coming offensive. Haig knows that a German breakthrough in Verdun could be a defeat for all. Relieving the French people in the Somme is a necessity, and giving up on major offensive is impossible. He wants it so much. Okay, it's a deal. The English leader accepts to take 2/3 of the attack, despite its weakness. Indeed, the British war industry has not yet taken off. Shell production is inadequate. In a year of war, the small kingdom's professional army has been wiped out. It has no more field officers. Haig no longer has an army. He made one again with volunteers. 2 million Britons were committed to it. Some even cheated about their age. Undoubtedly out of patriotism, but above all to escape poverty, fog, and rain. To see the country and experience the adventure with friends. The new army is recruiting based on this point. Those who register together will serve together. So soccer teams, residents of the same neighborhood, and friends from the same city form units. They are also paid. Could it even get any better? the Somme is transformed into a gigantic military base, with numbers of cannons, ammunition, that can feed 1 million people and 400,000 horses. Picardy takes on the appearance of the Wild West. On June 24, 1916, the Germans had a rude awakening. It was the start of a week of uninterrupted shelling, ongoing day and night, like never seen before. 3,000 guns, from the biggest to the smallest, are madly loud. For miles, wheel to wheel, they're throwing 1.5 million shells on German defenses.
The shots fired together are like an arch over our heads. All over the horizon in German lines, the ground bursts upwards like furious waves crashing on reefs. There is answers from there. No sign of life. However, we know that human beings, our enemies, live there and receive without respite this infernal avalanche. But we are proud and happy. We have been waiting for this moment for so long.
The fire took on an insane amount of violence. We are entering a world of strange horror, like a virgin country. Explosions accumulate pain in the head and ears. We can only hear ourselves by brawling nonsense words. Our capacity to think is paralyzed. Yesterday a sergeant went crazy.
With 3 shells for each of the 500,000 Germans hidden in the front, how many of them could possibly survive? Deep in the land, Germans are living difficult moments. Of course, shells cause damage and victims. But they are still there. In fact, the artillery preparation of the British does not live up to the devastating ambition of inexperienced gunners. The shells are defective. A third do not explode. There were not enough big mortars. Not enough monsters capable of crushing deep shelters. The certainty of having destroyed the German front lines and being closer to victory make the enthusiasm of these young volunteers with fresh laughter even more pathetic. They are innocent people in uniform formed too quickly who will be on the battlefield victims of their inexperience. Their leaders are hammering that there is no longer a living rat in front and they will walk empty lines, with ammo and supplies on the back for 3 days. A battle Yves rarely had experienced such a festive atmosphere. They are fighting to be on the attack that will end the war. The last day before the assault, the superheated metal of the cannons was sizzling. 50,000 gunners are relentless despite the exhaustion of their bloody eyes and ears. At 6:30 a.m. on July 1, 1916, the fireworks reached their peak, 60 explosions per second. For the Germans, it's the signal that the offensive is close. In the final times, the attacking units have the right to a hearty breakfast with porridge, eggs and bacon, and smoking cigarettes. Reminder of instructions. These are 35 kilos to never come back. No running or throwing yourself to the ground. Everyone moves forward in line. No taking care of the injured. 7:28 a.m. Last cannon shot. The birds left the premises a long time ago. An enormous, unusual silence suddenly weighs on 40 kilometers of front. For the Germans, the attack is undoubtedly imminent. Tragedy can begin. A country destined for the sweet life is going to be the theater of the most terrifying battles. At the very beginning, nothing happens. Some Tommies are even playing with a balloon. Reconstructions from that time show what happens next. A first setback occurs. Bomb arrows are blocking their way. They were told that the German batteries had been destroyed. Now barrels are coming out of shelters, holes and woods. As a second surprise, clouds of bullets welcome the lucky ones who crossed the German artillery dam.
When these masses of English started to approach, at first we were very worried, but they were walking slowly. We'd never seen that before. Among the officers in front, there was one moving forward calmly, unarmed, with a cane. All we had to do was charge and reload. No need to aim. We were shooting in the heat. They fell in hundreds. If only they had run, they would have shoved us.
The third surprise was the worst. The machine gun harrow. As final catastrophic discoveries, the German barbed wire networks have not been pulverized. Some are intact.
The Scots got entangled in the barbed wire by the kilt. With their bodies shot through, they are pierced like crows. A bullet goes through the lieutenant's skull through his eye. I am certain of being sent here to die.
Each machine gun shoots 6 bullets per second. It scratches the hands and scalds the arms. In emergencies, servants urinate in the cooling tank. When it jams up, survivors can reach the German trench.
When we finally reached the trench, the Germans raised their hands. And when they saw so few still alive, well, they got away.
Instructions had been whispered. The conquerors of rare trench sections are exhausted and condemned by the lack of reinforcements. They cannot flow back. The enemy artillery barrage is cutting off their way back. German counterattacks take them in the crossfire. They have no choice but to fight and to die. The Germans are cleaning their trenches, reconquered in the same way. My God, where did my guys go? This colonel doesn't know yet that his battalion was destroyed. No head of unit knows what is going on a front masked by the explosions. That cut telephone lines. Generals doubt that things are not going well. Should we hold back the second wave scheduled for 8:30? Only the dispatch riders can contact a distant headquarters that is deaf and blind. In the castle where he is leading the offensive, General Rawlinson ignores the extent of the chaos and takes the massacre for an exaggerated rumor. He sticks to his plan. He does not give counter orders. For men of the second wave, the excitement is gone. Revenants from hell have spoken. They can guess what's in store for them. But when the whistle blew, they go without failing. They will have the same fate. General Rawlinson is a cavalier. This is his original weapon. He even had planned to send the cavalry to finish the fight, just like in the good old days. Stiffness of a plan of 100 pages is his big mistake. With Haig's agreement, he left no freedom of judgment and decision to field commanders. Everything was planned in the service of a certain victory. Anything but failure. He even planned exorbitant human losses. 50,000 in one morning. It's 10 times less on the German side, with the irreparable loss of most field officers. Are our chefs going to stop there? These I was going to die are grouped into other units and will go back into the battle. For what result? On this first day, the center and the English left wing have not conquered the first German trench, while their objective was the second. In the valley of the Somme, over 15 kilometers, the French have just reached their objective with minimal losses. They were better equipped, experienced, and free to run or crawl. It is their greatest success since the Battle of the Marne. The far-right English wing has also achieved its objective. These British and French could have exploited their gains. The German defenses were less solid in the south. A road opened in front of them. But the plan included a general rush lined up. So these brave men had to stop. They have to wait for the revival of the English left the next day. It will be disastrous again. In the evening of the second day, the English commander-in-chief confided in his war notebook, completely satisfied.
It was another nice day with a nice sun and fresh wind. It had ups and downs. They told me about the losses and deaths and injuries. With the ones of yesterday, they are close to 100,000. It is not such a high number if we consider the million soldiers engaged on a 22-kilometer front. The morale of the injured is wonderful.
General Haig mentions the injured brought back from the front. This first war report shows that most of the injured are still ashore in no man's land. Many are dying because of atrocious physical and moral sufferings. Or are they finished by the Germans who shoot at anything that moves, including stretcher bearers? Half of the injured could have been saved if they had been brought back. The English had dug ditches for the collection of enemy bodies. These dumps are used for their deceased injured, because as a result of lamentable negligence, most of the scheduled trains for the evacuation of the injured are not there. A mystery is in order. The plan called for success of the offensive in 2 or 3 days, despite the blatant failure. Why obstinate for nearly 5 months? Haig is on a crusade. He believes God is on his side. He twice rejects the request of London to stop the offensive. Military censorship hides the extent of the disaster. Generals are removed from office because they lost their men, or because they saved them. The months of July and August are marked by large one-off sterile attacks. They are experimenting new techniques, like rolling dams. A shell curtain shot from the back hides the attacker's progress and is up when they reach German lines. This is a risky game when the gun pointers are wrong. They're shooting at the troop. Night raids crawling through shell holes that are still hot from explosions of the day to go cut 2 pieces of barbed wire. These murderous raids, more often carried out by appointed than by volunteers, are the haunting fighters. There are mostly these assaults relentlessly relaunched to take a farm, or one of these concrete bunkers. Losses regularly go from 50% to 90% in a battalion of 800 men, from 50 to 90% in a brigade of 4,000 men. Picardy sees the arrival of masses of volunteers coming from the British Empire, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. They are thrown into the furnace as soon as they arrived. 3,000 South Africans out of 3,200 perished to conquer a single wood. A battalion of Canadian Newfoundlanders had the same fate.
Despite the crushing of the brigade in front of us, our generals order our battalion to rise to the front as expected. We have to take the narrow crossings of our own barbed wire network, under machine gun fire. To pass, you have to step on the bodies of comrades who have already fallen. The only brave ones who can reach the German first line are getting killed. In the evening, we were only 60 left. In a few tens of minutes, 90% of the battalion had fallen. 658 men and 26 officers. All the officers died for nothing. No German was killed during this attack. And he adds what was not frequent then because heroism was the fashion. I curse our leaders.
During the month of July, our losses exceeded 120,000 men. What they would have been if we hadn't attacked. I have the intention of extending the offensive until autumn.
How to explain the insensitivity of chefs of that time? They come from social classes distant from the people. And they don't have, like today, the obsessive worry to spare the lives of men.
The 49th Division did not even lose 1,000 men. They even didn't greet me when I went through the village where they were staying. Such soldiers can't fight brilliantly.
Among senior officers, sensitivity is out of the question. Their job, to wage war and to win. The battlefield offers their career the occasion of a consecration. It is their natural environment.
On the regiment that is still hot from the battle lives the unreal atmosphere of war. Dreams mixed with nightmares. Torpor. Dreams mixed with nightmares, torpor. And voluptuousness.
For a career officer, war is such a theater. But also, how to explain the acceptance of the soldiers of the time? The fear of execution for lack of courage. The galvanization of the weak by the strong plays a role, but is not the main one. There are also the chaplain and the pastor. Rum and Pinard. But above all, patriotism, heroism, and the sense of duty and sacrifice that are very high. Even for young men who went save a country that is not theirs.
My dear parents, if you read this letter, this means that I am dead. Don't worry, I did my best. If I had a chance to do it again, I would do the same thing. Send someone instead of me. The parents asked their other son, who was 18 at the time, to replace the brother. But he survived.
How can men who are free until the last minute of war give themselves without the slightest world to a sacrifice that they know is useless? It is not the flame of patriotism that inspires this spirit of sacrifice. It's only out of bravado, to not seem more cowardly than their neighbor. Or it's the confidence in their star. For some, there is a secret ambition of a decoration, a braid. But the masses tilt before the futility of recriminating.
Get some rest, my children. Sleep, wash yourself, relax. Sing your heart out. Write down your exploits to your old moms. Think also about the comrades who fell by your side and whose fate must be avenged. We will meet again soon, facing less botches. With men like you, we can, or even, we have to dare everything.
Our leaders live too far from the soldier. To ignite him, they deliver a painful comedy that can only hurt his sense of dignity.
Survivors spend several comebacks on the front line. One of them escaped a massacre of 27,000 Australians to conquer a single village. He gives his newspaper the impression of being led by lunatics who swore he would lose.
Once back from the front, we have to go back. Go back again and again until we fall. My brother and lots of other officers were deliberately massacred. Massacred by the incompetence, insensitivity, and the vanity of those who abuse of their authority.
I'm quite proud.
Proud.
Yeah.
Proud of him. All of the soldiers here in this beautiful cemetery.
Just a waste of so many young men. They came to fight for their country. They came to fight for the freedom of France. They made sure that France was free. And it's a long way from home for them. These men came 14,000 kilometers and they'll never go home.
He wanted to come. I know he wanted to come. He came with my uncle and an ultra uncle and my grandfather.
It's like Percy is still looking after him even to this day. You know, all the unknown men are with him.
In September and October, by obstipation and to force the Germans to withdraw divisions for the Somme from Verdun, the French commanders started several big attacks in Santerre, Land of Blood, with artillery preparations of 100,000 shots per day, and 6 million in 2 months. In a short time, repeated assaults caused French losses to soar. They were so far moderate for few villages. It was called snacking.
The fog is dispelling. Germans are amazed to see us a few steps away from their trenches. These people, forced to kill each other, deem it is useless to defend themselves. They all throw up their arms screaming, "Comrades!" There is the body of an enemy officer with a bloody head next to a blood-stained shovel. We understand that these men did not want to surrender and got rid of it.
The losses of the last 2 days are only 8,000 men. It is something remarkable. The enemy doesn't fight as well anymore. His morale is broken.
Certainly, the enemy is suffering and getting tired. But does this war advocated by Joffre make sense? When the attacker is destroyed twice as fast as the opponent, on the Somme, it is almost 2 attackers for a German. And in the face of an army with a much bigger population and whose reinforcements seem inexhaustible. Despite the sacrifice of 80,000 foot soldiers in 2 days to advance a kilometer on a front of 7 kilometers, General Haig still believes in success and knows how to stimulate the war resolution of his French partners.
The best way to touch the heart of French leaders goes through their throats. An old cognac has surprisingly calming effects on Joffre. The commander-in-chief agrees to continue pressing the enemy during winter. In my opinion, the resistance of the enemy won't be broken without a new campaign next year.
In the meantime, during autumn, the battle is getting bogged down.
Even before reaching the front, men slide through funnels shells full of water. Some can't pull themselves out of the mud. They freeze to death or drown there, hands clasped at the edge of the holes.
There is on both sides this feeling of rain beyond the borders of the known world.
It was now our turn. The place was full of shreds of uniforms, weapons, and deads. The dead were mingling among the living. By digging holes to bury ourselves, all we saw were dead bodies, stacked in layers one on top of the other. Companies had been mowed down one after the other. The bodies that were buried in the masses of land of the shells. It was now our turn.
In these swamps of pain, shine few bits of humanity.
We learned through these papers that the English officer we shot down is called Stokes. He is well-dressed. He is handsome with smart features. His pocket notebook contains addresses of young girls in London. Too bad he's dead. We bury him behind our trench, with a cross, where I mark his name with shoe nails.
During the hurricane of metal and fire, 2 officers, an Australian and a German, plunge into the same shell hole. They're shooting at each other at the same time. The Australian is injured in the throat, while the German is seriously affected. He whispers in good English, "It's the end for me." Then he takes out a pack of letters and hands them to his enemy. "Please send them to my family in Germany." That was done. Today, his descendants still have his letters.
The relentlessness is now opting for something new. The flamethrowers. gases. And for the first time, British charts. Unbalanced monsters which are more scary than bad, but boost morale of foot soldiers. And these gigantic explosions are renewed at the end of galleries dug under the enemy line, stuffed with tons of explosives. Pilgrims are united every year around the crater dug by this explosion. The poppy became for the British people the symbol of their sacrifice. In the fields, they abound like so many fallen men. A writer whispers, "The earth will cover us with its mud coat." And then, later on, who knows, wheat will grow and sheaves of flowers will show from the hoses where we are rotten. In mid-November, the English and French commandments declare the end of the fighting. No one talks about failure, and yet in nearly 5 months of killing, none of the main goals has been reached. On the other hand, they talk about victories, of indirect victories about Verdun. Because there is no doubt that without the Battle of the Somme that caused a diversion, the German army, with all forces combined, could have won Verdun. The British also say that their army of volunteers has learned to wage war. Their staffs have undoubtedly learned to do it better. But not the men they commanded, because they have disappeared. London resolved to military conscription. What's going on after a year of ferocity looks like a colossal nose thumbing to the 420,000 British and the 200,000 French fallen in the Somme. Indeed, from the beginning of 1917, the Germans are withdrawing themselves in order to shorten their front lines, thus mocking the gain of a few pieces of land that the Allies snatched from them. General Haig remained in his post and was named Marshal. So did General Joffre. He was appointed Marshal, but judged too bloodthirsty by the government. He was thanked and replaced by General Nivelle. Nor the English command nor the French command learned the lesson of the Somme. It is the same for the Germans in Verdun. In trench warfare, no major offensive is successful. The French and British staff majors were, however, relaunching them on each other. This led them again, like on Chemin des Dames, the path of the damned, to butchers that are as appalling as useless. and to the great moral crisis of 1917. The crest line of horrors seems never stop extending. Desperation, self-mutilation, and suicides are taking their toll. For the soldier, war became his condition. In life as in death. Within him, nightmares overshadowed all dreams.